when you have secret fantasies that you can't talk about. Let's look at this in Genesis 19. Before we get to chapter 19, chapter 18 ends with Abraham pleading for the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. He asked the angels, would you spare the city for 50 righteous people? And we know he dwindles on down to 10 righteous people. And the angels say, yeah, we will spare the city for 10 righteous people, but they know there's not 10 righteous people there. That's the purpose that God sent them for, destroy the city. The righteous is not there. So now we're at chapter 19. The angels are in Sodom. And Lot recognized the strangers that's in the city because the angels can come in human form. The scripture tells us, be careful how you entertain strangers. You might be entertaining an angel. And he approached the angels and invited them to stay at his house. The angels declined the invitation, said, no, we're all right. We can take care of ourselves. We're going to stay right here in the city, on the street, in the square. He said, no, you might want to come and stay at my house. So after insisting, the angels take him up on his offer and they go to Lot's house. Some of the men in the city, it says the young and the old and the young, come over to Lot's house and say, stop, we saw some men go in there. Who are the men? Lot said, now, y'all don't do this wickedness. They're passing through, they're travelers, and they visited my house. Y'all going about your business, now go on. The man said, now, if they visiting, we want to welcome the men to the city too. We're hospitable. So the angels tell Lot, come on back in the house. Come on in here, you ain't got to worry with that. We got that taken care of. They pull Lot back in the house. But before they pull Lot back in the house, notice in verse, I think it's verse 5 or 7, some one of those. Lot invite the men to his daughters. He said, I have 2 daughters, and they've never known a man. Now, these girls could have been sodomized. They could have been killed because these are multiple men. But he invited the men to his daughters to protect the angels. Now, the angels clearly said they can take care of themselves. They will stay on the street. Well, let's go on. Lot is preparing his family members of what's about to happen, that we need to evacuate the town. It says he has sons and son-in-laws. So those girls was married. But the son-in-laws did not take him serious. They was like, Lot, what's the deal? This the first time we hear you talk like this. What's the difference between yesterday and today? What's going on with the city? We've been here for years. So the next morning, the angels wake Lot up and say, get your family, it's time to go. But his sons and son-in-laws didn't want to go. They stayed behind. Only his daughters and his wife left. The angels said, now go up to the mountain for safety and refuge. Lot said, no, I can't go to the mountains. It's dangerous up there. But I know where I can go. I'm going down to Zoar. So he goes down to Zoar. And while in Zoar, it says that his wife turned back and looked towards Sodom. Now she's pining. It's not just that she turned back and she looked physically, because Abraham looked. It says he got up the next morning, came out of his tent, and he looked towards Sodom. He saw the billows and the billows of dark smoke and the furnace of fire coming from that direction. So Abraham looked that way. He didn't turn into salt. It was not about just looking. It was about her connections, infinity, and her mind being back there with the people. Maybe pining for her sons and her son-in-laws and her family and friends back there. When God says to move, it doesn't have to be a physical location. When he says to go, or he turns your mind in a different direction, we're supposed to set our face like flint and not look back. Because it's not just looking back at family and friends. We could look back at people too. But we could be looking back at our old lifestyle. If God is pulling us and telling us to come forward, because salvation is a change of the mind, you're coming forward. You can't go forward and looking back at your old lifestyle, because you miss it. And you miss your happenings and your dealings and how you maneuvered and how you did things in life. So now Lot is discontented even in Zoar. Maybe he run into trouble there too. So now he decides he's going to the mountains. Now we want to zoom in on these girls and call their behavior into question. These girls was married. Remember, Lot invited the girls to the men in the city and said, my daughters never knew a man. Why didn't they know a man when they was married? The daughters say, let's lay with our father so that we can perpetuate our family line and continue our father's legacy. Now, if they was interested and having seed and bearing children. Why didn't they have children with their husband? There's three things happening here. First, Lot is old. He was drinking, and he was so drunk, he said he passed out. In verse 33, it says he didn't know when the girls laid down, and he didn't know when they got up. Now, these girls is some mean motor scooters. Anytime you have the audacity to stimulate and fondle your daddy like that, something ain't right. One lays down with him one night and encouraged the other to lay down with him the next night. You see, their husbands didn't even desire to follow them when Lot left the city. So something was going on with those women. They didn't know a man, but they didn't mind knowing their daddy. That's not a one-time occurrence, you all. Life is life. It doesn't matter about the dispensations of time. That still goes on today. Now, it doesn't have to be to that extreme of laying with your parent or a family member, a sibling. That goes on too, but it doesn't have to be to that extreme. We could have these secret yearnings, especially as a teenager. Teenagers' minds run wild. Even in adulthood, the mind is a wild thing. And God tells us we have to capture the imaginations of the mind and bring it down into submission under the instructions of God. Lot was not innocent himself. Remember, it says Lot was rescued because of the prayers of Abraham. But when the righteous pray, much power avails. God sent angels to either destroy or defend. They would defend in your city, your house, my house. But we have to be found righteous before God. Not just pray, be found righteous. It's only God's right way. Remember, this type of thing happened in the movie Eve's Bayou. Now, that was just a movie, but it depicts life. The young girl admired her father. I'm sure she loved her father. Now, I'm not trying to go to an extreme and say we cannot compliment and love our parents. There's no harm in saying my father is handsome. My mom is beautiful. And we love our family. But when we cross that line, because that young girl crossed the line in the movie, and she sat on her dad's lap and she kissed him in the mouth and he slapped her. Then the young girl shut down. She was ashamed. And the family was fearful for her, concerned about her psychological and mental well-being. Well, she was experiencing psychological trauma. She shut down and wouldn't express what was really going on with her because they're shameful. Who's going to admit, I have a thing for my dad? You know, like, mom is pretty hot. Nobody says that. People look at you crazy. What's wrong with you? So you just keep it inside. But even if we feel like we can't talk to another person about something, God is always available. You'll break down and lay the cards on the table before God. God don't reveal secrets. But our secrets will be revealed. We reveal it by the manifestation in our lifestyle because we was trying to cover it up. Now, those daughters of Lot, they was just evil.